You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Welcome back. You're on the clock. You're passing time with us. A Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
This is episode 26.
26.
What you know about it?
We're rolling, baby.
That's a Gibbs old number, right? You right?
Not number zero.
Not number zero. So we're coming off a penalty-less buzzsaw last week that we faced there in KC. Lions signed a defensive back this week, Brian.
Let's look at Fuller and see what he's got.
Yeah, we're looking at. Hey, we're just teasing here. Don't give it
Sorry.
all away.
Sorry.
So now this week we got the hottest team in the league coming to the D on Monday Night Football.
Let's see what Baker Mayfield and the Bucs have to offer. So,
Branch and JuJu had some drama. Let's talk about that real quick.
Right.
Brian Branch punch, and we'll tease it into later on. But that punch felt on JuJu felt like when the bouncer finally throws the guy out of the bar that's been picking fights with everybody for all these years. He's been doing things for all these years, and finally the bouncer's like, hey, I had enough.
And Brian Branch had enough. He had been picked on. You saw in his presser that he felt like he was bullied throughout that game, that nothing was being regulated by the officials, and that he was done. He was going to take it upon himself then in order to manage that he wasn't going to be bullied.
They were trying to bully me out there. Should have never did it. It was childish. I got blocked in the back illegally, and it was running the ref. The ref didn't do anything, and just stuff like that. And I could have got hurt off of that, but I still shouldn't have done that. So it was a lot of stuff, but I should have showed it between the whistle, not after the game, and I apologize for that.
And, he called it childish. He recognized it was wrong, and Dan Campbell came on as well and said, that's not going to be accepted as a Detroit Lion, and he apologized to the Chiefs.
Let me start with this. I love Brian Branch, but what he did is inexcusable. And it's not going to be accepted here. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. I apologize to Coach Reed and the Chiefs and and Schuster. That's not okay. That's not what we do here, and it's not going to be okay. He knows it. Our team knows it, and so that's not what we do.
We don't condone it
No.
by Branch.
No.
But come on, JuJu's been cashing karma checks since Pittsburgh. And Branch just handed him the receipt finally, and it's about some time somebody did that.
Oh, man. And, as a player, former player, not necessarily in the league, but, still played football, you don't want to be pushed around. You don't want to be bullied. And then when somebody continues to get away with it, you got to step up and defend yourself and your teammates.
Yeah, it's a badge of pride, right? Yep. UTEP, University of Texas El Paso, came out with a report. Something that you've been talking about for a while. We're going to get the findings of that report, but that's very interesting stuff.
It is, and we're going to tap into that. I'll tease it now, but later we'll look at, whether the Chiefs are getting, some treated well. They're getting some benefits.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah. So and there's some empirical evidence that suggests that. Yep. So we're going to start the show with in-depth preview of this week's Monday Night Football game. Also, we're going to give you a free winner. And shine a light on a bet that looks really, really good. If you don't remember, you can go back to last week's podcast.
Take a look.
And we made you some money. Emotionally, it wasn't good money, but if you like to hedge your happiness, we made you some money. We pointed out some systems that typically work. And
we called it here that the Lions were probably going into a situation and it wasn't good for them. And Vegas saw that and we tried to give you the best advice as we could, even though this is not a gambling website.
This is 1-800-GAMBLER. It's not a gambling website, but we're going to shine a light on a free winner later on.
Yeah. All right. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. So let's talk Monday Night Football to kick this off. Lions, Bucs. Where do you want to start with? Brian Branch?
Let's just start with Brian Branch. So 1 game suspension. after that little melee at the end of the game that we can consider justifiable, but we understand the suspension, right?
Yep.
I understand that the league wants to get that out of the game, but they could get that out of the game by calling a fair game in the Chiefs games in the first place. But that's neither here nor there. That's going to, though, impact us going into the Bucs.
Yeah, so we got some we're a little thin in the secondary right now.
Yeah, I'd say real thin. Kirby's banged up, and you saw him leave that game as well. And so there's question marks on whether we're going to give him a week to rest going into the bye, or if he's going to just, fight through that.
Apparently, Kirby's thumbs are fatigued as well, because he got on the Twitter sphere afterwards, and he was pretty fired up. I don't know how many of those tweets are still alive, or if Dan Campbell killed a few of those. But
I went back and looked at a couple of those the other night, and it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Just tagging, liking, reposting. A lot of Pat Mahomes in love with some officials, let me tell you.
No doubt about that. Yeah. So thin in the secondary. Anybody else that were Avonte Maddox,
still banged up. TA does not look like he'll be back for this week, but I will say we missed him. And all those folks out there that were calling for him to be cut or moved on from, or calling him a bust, we definitely missed him against the Chiefs.
It's a tough game to go out a lot of your key secondary players, because the Bucs offense is led by Baker Mayfield. It's hard not to like Baker Mayfield. If you don't like Baker Mayfield, put that in the comments and put why. Just from an outside perspective, he's just a gamer. He's a dude that, like, he rallies around the city, the fans. He puts it all out there.
You might not like him if you're a Chiefs fan, but as a gritty, like, blue collar, like a guy that's going to go in there and get you those tough yards, he's a guy that we love. He's a guy that when he does get knocked down, he's not looking at the official, begging for a flag. He's up chirping and saying, "Hey, I'll get you the next time."
Yeah.
So,
kind of guy you want. Yeah. To your point, blue collar. So the Bucs also have some injuries going on. Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin, Emeka Buka, Mike Evans.
Maybe. Mike Evans still dealing with hamstrings, and will he be able to return?
So some backups on some backups. And speaking of that,
right.
Can you get into a little bit about maybe one potential backup, and if he will be suiting up this game in Monday night?
Sure. So we just signed today Kendall Fuller, former Commander, former Miami Dolphin, former Chief, and we are able to bring him into our practice squad. We'll see if we can get him up to speed enough in order to be elevated onto that active roster. But the guy has some pedigree. He's got some statistics. He's won a championship with the Chiefs back in 2019.
Yeah.
Had an interception in that game as well. So he brings some veteran-like qualities and some experience.
Yeah, started 11 games last year, recorded 50 tackles, 7 pass deflections, 1 fumble recovery, and was he a first-round pick or second-round?
Third round pick.
Third round pick. Okay, all right.
Yep.
By the Commanders, I think back in 2016. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, it's a practice squad guy, and right, if he doesn't show it, he doesn't get elevated, and he can get picked off by another team. But right now, he's just depth for the Lions.
Absolutely. And when you're thin as we are with guys like Kirby, questionable, Branch is most likely not going to be there, even though he's appealing that suspension. And our DBs are Rockyson still, and Robertson, Amik, so we need guys in order to be able to be there in case one of those guys gets banged up.
Yeah, I love Amik. You see him in the locker room afterwards, kind of giving those interviews, and basically wanting to say something, but knows that he can't say it.
Trying to be a professional, right? Trying to be a professional on it.
He said everything with his eyes that you need to see.
When you lose, they were just a better team today.
So let's talk a little bit about Baker Mayfield, getting some MVP buzz, rightfully so. Super efficient under pressure, and let's just kind of peek under the hood. What's he bringing to the table?
The guy just doesn't want to die, right? He is going to, if you have 11 yards to get, he's going to try to get you 11 and a half.
Yeah.
And he's not going to go down and slide. He's not going to be the guy that's going to take less. He's going to try to get it all, each and every play.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're probably going to be looking at right now I think it was it, third or fourth down and 14. He almost gets sacked, basically almost like 2 times. Gets out of that, scrambles, and picks up, a half yard more than he needed.
Just enough.
And that's Baker Mayfield in a nutshell right there.
Absolutely. And, he's a guy that you, as long as he's not playing your team, want to root for. But when he is playing your team, you're like, I'm sorry, man. We're going to do everything we can to make your life hard. So.
Yeah, and hopefully Aiden's gonna help that out. So, can Detroit generate enough pass rush to throw him off his game, but also keep him contained?
So, in saying that, there might be some individual that could help with that particular pass rush coming back this week. So, Ali McNeil, we've heard now Dan Campbell in this last presser say he's might be more like 58 at 42. He got those numbers not necessarily right, but looking like he's leaning more and more towards that return.
That's exciting news. I mean, the middle, actually the whole D line, that's Detroit's strength.
Yeah, it's our D line. It's those trenches, both offensively and defensively, that we hang our hat at.
We'll get into the Chiefs, but they spread you out. They make it difficult to stop the run, not because they have a great running attack or a great running back, but just what they do on offense.
Yep.
Well, just real quick comparison stake. I felt we should just kind of compare Jared Goff to Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jared Goff's starting to get a little bit more buzz. His MVP conversations are at least starting to be had. We don't have to go down nearly as far down that list to see his name. But yeah, I mean, Jared Goff and the numbers against Baker Mayfield are pretty intriguing.
Yeah. So let's kind of. You take Jared and I'll take Baker, and we'll go passing yards.
1390 for Jared.
1539 for Baker.
Okay.
Touchdowns to interception ratio.
Well, Jared's got the most in the league right now with 14.
12-1 for Baker Mayfield.
Oh, and Jared does have 2 interceptions.
Okay. Yep. All right. QBR.
Jared right now is at 72.9 passer rating.
QBR 71.1.
Oh, sorry. Passer rating is 120.6
and 108.5 for Baker Mayfield. Yep. So I would say the first one slightly favored Baker, but the last 2 have favored Jared Goff.
Yep.
Completion percentage, accuracy.
This is where Jared is gonna start to really have the separation. He's got 75.9% completion rate.
And it's 66 for Baker.
Mm-hmm.
So Baker is known as a kind of an efficient quarterback.
Yep.
A little bit more of a gunslinger. Will throw a ball up in traffic. But, I mean, they're both pretty clutch players, too. They both come up big in big moments. But very comparable. So that's why it's always surprising to me when you don't hear the Goff name as far as an MVP candidate.
Again, like we're talking, we're starting to hear a little bit more. His odds are getting a little bit better, but right now, I mean, you look at somebody who is such an efficient passer in the league, like Jared Goff, who is throwing touchdowns consistently. I mean, we have weapons, but the guy should get the accolades.
Yeah. Detroit's offense, loaded, right? They need a rebound. That was kind of it was a little bit of a rough one. Mm-hmm. They shot themselves in the foot a few different times, but 17 points against Kansas City, that's well below average.
And they struggled. I mean,
so let's circle back into the more of the preview mode, and a lot to unpack about last Sunday night. Let's talk a little bit about how the offense for Detroit stacks up against the defense for Tampa Bay, and vice versa, how the defense for Tampa Bay stacks up against the offense for Detroit. Kicking it off first with the offense for Detroit against the Buccaneers defense. Obviously, we know that the passing attack for Detroit is very, very capable. They rank middle of the road right now, but they are very, very capable, and they're going against Tampa Bay pass defense that's good for 21st in the NFL and allowing about 231 yards a game.
So we should feast, right? I mean, we should make sure that we feed an Amon-Ra, that we get J-Mo down the field and continue to find spots where Sam Laporta can get his as well. And in doing so, that's going to come from the run, right? We have to establish a run so we can get our play action, which is what we do the best at. And when we get Jared Goff in those predictable passing like situations, it becomes tough, especially if Taylor Decker again misses a third week in a row. And we're going to rely on Dan Skipper, who I thought played well, and we'll get into that as well. But we got to remember, we're still young across that interior.
So I think that matchup favors the Leos, and that might be one of the more favorable matchups that we'll talk about. So rushing, Detroit's rushing attack against Tampa Bay's run defense. Detroit they're going to have to lean heavy on the run just to open up the passing attack.
Absolutely.
They're 8th in the NFL, averaging 128 a game, and Tampa Bay's 5th in the NFL, only giving up 88 a game.
So it's going to be hard running, and you're going to have to get guys like David Montgomery banging heads and possibly wearing things down. It's funny, this year you've seen a little bit of a switch. I mean, last year you always saw David Montgomery start the game, bang, 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 and then open up that run game for Gibbs. This year you're seeing Gibbs kind of try to open up the run game and then bang to end the game with David Montgomery. And I wonder how successful that's going to be.
Yeah, and it's a new coordinator, new philosophies that evolves over the course of the year. So maybe you just pointed something out that potentially starts making a small change over time.
Well, we know John Morton watches the show, so we'll make sure that he calls me every once in a while to make sure that he's doing the things correctly. So.
Friend of the podcast. Yeah, thanks, Johnny. So really, if you think about, kind of total Lions offense against Tampa Bay's defense, it's a category that definitely favors the Lions slightly. This is an area where we feel like the Lions could potentially put up some points this week, kind of a comeback week.
And I think they're going to get back to what they do and what their identity is. I think they got away from that a little bit at the Chiefs, and I think a part of that was circumstantial, being down 2 scores and trying to press the situation a little bit, getting behind the sticks early in downs or early in series, and it kind of put them in situations of predictable passing downs, and that was that allowed the pass rush and the pressure to get Jared Goff off his spots. So coming back, I honestly think that they're going to pound and really try to establish themselves physically against the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, that's when they're the most successful, right?
Yes.
So flipping the script, let's talk about Tampa Bay's offense against Detroit's defense. And we'll start with passing. Aerial attack. Baker Mayfield's been efficient. We pointed out the stats just a little bit ago. This year, they're 7th in NFL, averaging 244 a game.
Yep.
Detroit's given up 212 a game, good for 14th in the NFL. So this slightly favors probably Tampa Bay, especially with the banged up secondary. But we did mention that Tampa Bay they're going to be missing maybe 2 or 3 out of their best wide receivers.
Absolutely. And Mike Evans, again, like we said, is questionable. So we'll see where that falls come probably Thursday or Friday later in the week.
That can't be understated either. If they're missing, I mean, if you think about the Lions, if they're playing a game without Amon-Ra, without J-Mo, and they have to feature guys like Isaac Tesla and Craig Reynolds, it's just a different team to prepare for.
It is different, and those guys are talented, but there's a reason that Amon-Ra is your number 1 wide receiver, right?
Yeah. So Tampa Bay, again, their rush offense, they're going to be without Bucky Irving, who's been their primary ball carrier for the last couple of years. They average 109 a game, 20th in the NFL, and most of those stats are with Bucky. Detroit's given up they're 95 a game, 95 and a half, good for 11th in the NFL. This is another kind of tilt in Detroit's favor.
Yeah. And another way to get right, right? Where they get back to what they do and their identity and who they believe themselves in is the trenches, right?
Yeah. So kind of talking about that, I mean, you can make your own conclusions here, but there's maybe one category that slightly favors Tampa Bay, and there's a couple categories that truly favor Detroit, and then there's a couple stalemates in here. So that if you're kind of doing, X wins the battle here, and who's got more X's and who's got more O's, it stacks up in Detroit's favor and on the home field.
The home field's huge too, right?
Yeah.
And we got to remember, this is a get-right game for Detroit. This is we did not play our best ball against the Chiefs. This is a bad taste in our mouth that we hate to have, and we may get into statistically what the Lions have done back-to-back games here in a second. But I'm going to tell you, like, one guy in particular, and might be a key to this, is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had that pretty brutal fourth down drop, and it impacted the game. I want to tell you that was a big part of that game, and I don't think that's going to happen again. And when you get a pissed off Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is the leader of your team, the hardest working person of your team, he is going to demand everyone else to fall into suit, get ready to go, and make sure that they are crossing every single T, dotting every single I, and they are going to be laser focused going into the Monday night.
Oh, I mean, you got a pissed off Amon-Ra. You got a fired up, pissed off B Mike's over
Let's
here.
go.
Yeah, I like it. So, do you want to hand out some free money?
Hey, call 1-800-GAMBLER, but also take some notes.
Yeah, take some notes here. So, just like last week. So, if I can remind you, if you're too lazy to go back to last episode, what we mentioned here was that the Lions were the line was moving in the Lions' direction. So the Lions were giving up more points and more points, and all the bets were coming in on the Lions, and those two things don't go hand in hand. And we said this was a glaring Kansas City. Vegas is very comfortable on that side. Let me talk about this game. The line opened up here at 4.5 point favorites for the Leos. It's now at 5.5 points. 76% of the bets are coming in for Tampa Bay, and the line's still moving in that direction. That's a system play, and that's a system play that's going to work a lot more than it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, grab it at 5.5 if you can get it, because that one's hitting.
And the money is, like you said, coming in for Tampa Bay. They're 5-1. They're one of the best teams in football right now. They have a hot quarterback who is an MVP candidate. The Lions are coming off a pretty brutal loss, and people like the Lions are emotional. Lions fans are emotional, like Bill. They start to bill. They're billing, and so they're jumping ship and they're putting their money on Tampa Bay.
Vegas didn't build skyscrapers in the desert from losing bets, right? Like they understand this, and they're trying to draw the money in right here because they know what's going to happen. So keep sending your Tampa Bay tickets in if you want to lose money. A lot of them are pouring in. It's emotional. They're coming off a couple big wins. Lions are coming off a big primetime loss. It's all relative bias, and they just feed off of that. What'd you see last week? Okay, we're gonna placate into that a little bit. Also, over under here, which is important, is 52.5. So Vegas is kind of saying, hey, 29-24 could be kind of a final score game. And Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about how Detroit's done after a loss?
Well, recently, they don't lose back-to-back games. When was the last time? Was
2022.
It 2022? Week 7 and 8 of 2022 was the last time the Lions lost back-to-back games.
Yeah.
So that was Dallas Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins.
Good memory. It's not written down, folks. Yeah. So, do you think this game is going to be more of a shootout, or do you think it's going to be more of a clock management style game?
I think they're going to start off with clock management. They're going to get one of their long initial drives. They're going to try to grind games out. But if they have opportunities to attack you down the field, I think J-Mo will have one or two spots where they feature him and try to take the top off. So,
it's going to be. I think you're going to have more fun Monday night than you had late Sunday night this week. And it's just the way the NFL is. It's a tough league. There's tough matchups. And let's get into this Lions Chiefs, but that was a must win for the Chiefs, and it was a tough setup for the Lions there.
And there's lots to talk about. So let's get into the Chiefs. Let's talk about the Chiefs. Let's talk about the Lions versus the Chiefs.
We are here, Brian.
We're here.
Riff.
All right. Okay. So I break this down into three key plays because the Lions did not play well enough to win that game. Now, there were other factors that go into this that helped extend or separate the Chiefs from the Lions throughout that game. But the three main pieces are the Amon-Ra St. Brown fourth down drop, which is which is pretty heavy, pretty huge. And Amon-Ra doesn't do that, right? He doesn't drop those passes typically, but he did this time. And he'll have 1 or 2 of those a year, and that's it. But that was a big turning point. That was a 4th down, middle of the field. We were going to go down and score and go up 2 scores, and we didn't, right? We turned that ball over, and what did the Chiefs do? They went down and turned that into points. So that was huge. That was a huge momentum swing. Okay, number 2. I guess it might be number 1 is the touchdown that was taken off the board after much debate, apparently. No review by the booth, but much debate by those officials.
A long debate after the celebration was over. The guy's getting Gatorade, right?
And if that is illegal, it's illegal, and I can respect that, but it's a non-reviewable play. And if they weren't looking up at the big TV in front of them, then is that reviewable? If they weren't hearing any chatter in their ears, is that reviewable? I don't know. The coach says they got a call from the booth, but they are claiming afterwards that they did not do that.
I think Taylor Swift sang him a song real
sure,
quick, a lullaby.
Yeah. Well, I did see a stat that 5,000 to 1 was the odds on Jared Goff getting that first score. So I don't know if there was hey, Vegas is calling quick.
I saw PFT doing an interview with one of his cronies, and on live, and he's holding a ticket.
Yeah.
And Big Cat's buddy's holding a ticket, and they're watching this live, and they're like, "Dude, you're cashing." And he looked up and he told them how much he was going to make, and those guys bet big units.
Yes.
And they were celebrating. They had time to celebrate live TV, and I mean, they celebrated for 45 seconds to a minute, and we're like,
what just happened?
And they had to show them. I don't know if we can find footage of this.
Yes.
Oh, Hank,
what was that, Hank?
Winning. Jared Goff scored the first touchdown. He had first touchdown, Jared Goff. And he caught it passing.
What was it?
90-1.
90 to 1?
You motherfucker.
Yeah, God damn it. We're in for a long fall.
Oh, my God.
This is going to be such a long.
He just can't stop winning.
Dude, oh my God.
What'd you win?
Oh.
He almost dropped it.
Oh, my God.
You didn't even see it.
150 to win 13K.
Oh, my God. Anyone who hates anyone on this podcast except Hank, it's in the wrong direction.
Yeah, come on. Hey, yeah.
That's crazy. Good for you, Hank. Uh-oh, there's a flag.
Stop.
Oh, no.
There is.
Stop.
This would be so funny. Oh, no, it's an illegal shift.
Oh, no,
Oh,
Hank.
no.
Oh, no, Hank. Oh, no, it's 4th down now.
Did you tweet?
No.
Wow.
That's bullshit.
That was so late.
That was so late, Hank.
Who's the shift on? Let's see.
I hate that this is all being recorded right now.
Oh my God.
Oh,
What was
man.
illegal about the shift?
I don't know, and that flag was so late. Oh.
Now they're going to
through
kick
this,
it.
Hank. Memes Max, you want to chime in?
I just keep telling Memes to zoom in closer on his face.
But that was a major play in this game,
Yeah.
and having to settle then for 3 points rather than having that 7 is a huge turn. And then the final situation was the Kansas City Chiefs being able to double up. They ended up scoring late in that second quarter, and then they got the ball back for beginning of the third quarter, and they drove it down and scored again. I mean, the wind was just removed completely from the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and from me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yep, I'm with you.
You kind of knew the way that game was going to go officially at that point.
Yep. And so now let's talk about some of those other factors, right? That didn't help the situation, but probably wasn't the only contributing factor in why the Lions lost that game. Let's mention that this entire game was penalty free for the Kansas City Chiefs. There was one penalty thrown, but not accepted. So there was no charged yardage against the Chiefs.
I'm hearing that was the first time that's happened in a very long time.
Very long time.
So, yeah, UTEP's got a report we're gonna get in, but that was it was interesting. We haven't seen that before, folks.
So it's hard to beat a team that plays perfect football. But if you look at any of those tapes, and I'm sure you're scrolling through Twitter in the late night and finding all of these negative tweets about holding calls or blocks in the back or Kelsey catching a pass or did the ground catch that pass?
Unbelievable.
So all of these things contributed. Are they the only reason? No, they're not the only reason. You can't let the officials, dictate whether you win or lose a game, but it sure as heck didn't hurt the Chiefs' chances.
Yeah. So also just Detroit's ability to not adjust to what Kansas City was doing, and it's not like Kansas City changed their game plan up for Detroit. If you look at what Kansas City does, is they play most of their offense is within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and they just kill you with short passes, short runs, improv plays, curls coming back to the play, scramble plays, and they just it was death by 1,000 cuts.
Absolutely, and you put your linebackers kind of in limbo, not being able to play either the pass or the run. They did not play their best game. Your safeties are dropping out because they're worried about the speed, and rightfully so. I mean, you have a banged up Kirby Joseph who's playing on one leg. You have backup DBs, and so you're playing the let's bend not break kind of situation, and it just so happened they broke. Right,
the offense was forced to get off their game later on. They kind of they were forced to get off their game because Kansas City got up by a couple touchdowns. And basically, it changed what Detroit wanted to do on offense. They decided that they can't run the ball as much as they usually run the ball. So kind of a tale of two halves.
Yep, and I believe that they got out of it a little bit too early. I think that they should have stuck to the run, continued to wear down the Chiefs. But there was a couple times that they got in second and long and third and long, and you're in those predictable passing type plays. So. It's hard to get out of, and so unless you're successful and you get those chunk plays on first and second down, you can't have a successful running game.
Yeah, and again, the Chiefs had a lot of pressure on them. Also, the refs had a lot of pressure on them to allow the Chiefs to alleviate some of that pressure. But It was a get right game. They had their rally cry the week before after the big loss, and they're coming into Arrowhead on a Sunday night football game. It was just a tough.
It was a tough watch. It was frustrating. You were probably I was frustrated. You were frustrated. I mean, it wasn't the best Lions football game you've seen. It was the refs were too or not enough involved, and the Chiefs. I mean, we all at this point don't like the Chiefs.
Yeah, you know what. My 7-year-old's pretty biased, but watching that game through the eyes of my 7-year-old who celebrated Goff's touchdown and went and ran to the bathroom afterwards and came back and it was still a touchdown and then they took it away and trying to how do you explain that? He just didn't understand. And then having him point out that, Travis Kelce may have not caught that ball, a 7-year-old, just little things like that. It's just, it's hard. It's pretty unbelievable.
I didn't feel fulfilled after that game, and it's funny because the last time the Lions played the Chiefs and we beat them, didn't they talk about how the big asterisk was next to that win? Does this kind of go the other way? And do we put a big asterisk next to the Chiefs win? Because I mean, we were out a left tackle, we were out some starting defenders, and we didn't have our full roster.
Yeah,
and they had the officials on their side.
I never appreciated how much of a baby Mahomes was until this week now. Right after that game, I kind of liked the guy a little bit. I respected him a ton. I mean, I still do. He's still a great quarterback. But man, I don't know if that was him or Dominic Raiola, the Nebraska quarterback out there. But just a lot of this going on.
Yeah,
and throughout after the game and into the week, so tough. So Chiefs got right. Are they a player in the division now? I mean, they're back to 500 ball, right?
And we've talked about it each and every week. The Kansas City Chiefs are not out of it, and they won't be out of it until we can put that final shovel of dirt on top of them, right? And we didn't. They stuck to what they've done. They are a talented team, and they exposed us a little bit in what we wanted to do. So,
can we talk a little bit about Detroit's aggressiveness, fourth down, decision making? Sometimes it really works out, and sometimes it doesn't.
Sure. They were 0 for 2 in fourth down conversions. on Sunday night. And I mean, one of them, with that Amon-Ra one was big and possibly turned the tides, the momentum for sure. But I think that this particular aggressiveness is not just a Lions thing any longer. This is being spread throughout the league. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a copycat league.
Yep.
And I'm glad we're not, tush pushing over here though. But Brian Branch, 1 game suspension as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's appealing the suspension. Dan came out today on a press conference. You want to talk?
He just mentioned that he's not expecting Dan's appeal to go through and him to win the appeal. So they're moving forward with plans and game plans to play without him. That is what it is right now. So he doesn't condone the behavior. He knows that Branch is a passionate player and he's a Lion true and through. And he's going to learn from this. So
yeah, Dan, he's not going to promote this kind of behavior. That's not who he is. He's probably actually getting a little bit sick of Brian Branch's name kind of coming up pretty consistently. But the statement of this team, the DNA of this team, I wouldn't be surprised if internally and maybe non-coach oriented, this is a bit of a rallying cry for some of his boys.
Yep, they're not going to be bullied. They're going to come back and play a more physical brand of football that the Lions really love to play. And they're going to come pretty hot and hard against the Bucs, and they're going to take the brunt of it. So
yeah. So let's talk. We're on the Chiefs subject here. Let's talk about this report that came out from the University of Texas El Paso.
Okay.
This report dates back. The data they're using is from 2015 to 2023. So they didn't even get last game's footage on this report. So they reviewed 13,000 defensive penalty calls during that time period, and found some patterns with officiating.
Really? What did they find?
The same stuff that you've been kind of talking about. If we could do a recap of maybe the last 25 episodes
right.
of your jabs at the Chiefs for getting all the calls.
Am I wrong?
Well, it turns out there's you're refuted evidence that you may be onto something here. So
I'm not the only one that sees this. So just I'm glad that at least somebody is putting numbers behind it.
Yeah. So I mean, just a lot of little data points here. Penalties against opponents yielded 2.36 more yards for the Chiefs, and they're likely to get 23% more first downs than the rest of the NFL because of these penalties.
Wow.
23%.
23. That's a pretty drastic number.
Yeah. When they're playing in the playoffs, subjective calls like roughing the passer, pass interference were flagged about 28% more often in Kansas City's favor.
Oh man, I'm starting to boil a little bit.
Okay,
here. My blood is starting to get a little hot.
Well, the authors here are arguing. Basically, they're saying, hey, there's some. This may stem from some financial pressures and big games, TV ratings, and the study shows that other dynasties, in their example, the Patriots, didn't benefit from the same type of calls that the Chiefs are benefiting from.
Wow.
There was no empirical or statistical evidence to suggest that Patriots ever had a tailwind from the referees.
So are we getting into conspiracy theory right now?
I don't know. Is there a tinfoil? We're at a basement. Is there a tinfoil hat on me right now?
Okay. If this doesn't come out, then please call.
But hey, the NFL referees have said they're refuting this information. They're rejecting the claims of biasness, and they're saying it's not us.
Yeah. Okay. So last night, or not last night, but Sunday night, when you called 0 penalties that were accepted, does that give you some tell there?
This is data that didn't even use 2024, 2025 data, which in our recency bias, we've seen a lot of things in last year and this year.
Last year was crazy. I mean, how many one-score games did the Kansas City Chiefs win last year, and how many of those had some sort of questionable officiating involved in it.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Tell us what you think there, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest that the NFL played a role in building this Kansas City dynasty, and what better? I mean, they get great ratings. They're in the rust bucket, middle of the United States. They're not a coastal team. They draw good ratings, night games, day games, good following. Build a new dynasty up. Dynasties make a brand money. Man, that tinfoil hat's just...
And not only that, but now, as of lately, the last couple of years, you're bringing in a whole new crowd of Swifties to the Kansas City Chiefs. And whether you believe in that or not, how many times do they show her on that Monday or that Sunday night game?
The ratings suggest that, the new brand of NFL fan that's a Swiftie loves watching the Chiefs, and they prefer that the Chiefs do well.
That's absolutely right.
So, billing.
So Bill's bullet points. He believes a little bit of what we've already said. They got away from what they do, their identity, their run game. And if you know Bill is a Monty believer. He loves his style and brand of football. He wants to pound. He wants to get on the ground. He wants to make sure that we're getting those 4 yards in a cloud of dust, right? And Monty did not get his, right? He did not get more than his 4 carries. That's drastically less than his least amount of carries this year and last. So we need to get back to that tough brand of football. That's his belief. And how are we going to do that? We just got to go back and be true to who we are. We have to get back in the duo sets where we're doubling and climbing. We have to, in doing so, we have to be on the same page and communicate. And I think that there were some breakdowns in that, this past Sunday night. He also talks about a tale of two halves. We were successful in that first half, and then we went away from it, and we should have just continued to grind.
I mean, it was something to do with the 14 points at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half that led, a coordinator that doesn't have a ton of experience, that maybe slightly panicked a little early and decided to, and he'll learn from that. And it's better to learn from that in the regular season than it is in the late stages of the regular season or into the playoffs.
And we have to remember, this is a long season. If you look across the NFL, a lot of those supposedly contenders stub their toe within either this week or last.
Yeah, and the Lions did, right?
Yep.
So let's kick it around the NFL a little bit. There's some good stories or some bad stories. 49ers, they've suffered a couple major blows here.
Lost Fred Warner.
Fred Warner out for the year. Nick Bosa is already out. Purdy's been out. I think he's slated to come back pretty soon. That dynasty, maybe not dynasty, but they were a top tier, since the Harbaugh era,
right?
Or about that time period, and they seem like they're trending down. First coaching change of the year, the Titans said, Brian Callahan, you are
deuces.
Head to Cancun, buddy. You out.
Yep.
1-5 start. Mike McCoy is the interim coach. It's tough. They brought in, number 1 overall pick, put him at their quarterback. He's got to learn on the fly, and they didn't have any patience for that.
Yeah, which is crazy because who they used to have is a guy that we both gave accolades to last week.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel, man. He was just a great head coach.
Yeah.
And the grass wasn't always greener.
Absolutely right.
It's kind of like your divorced friend that had a great wife, and then he ditched her for the cleaning lady, and then he's single again in 6 months after that. And,
right.
It's hard to feel bad for him.
Right. Is this that first analogy of the episode?
I held it out for a while, So Cleveland Browns, there's some rumors going around that Stefanski's on the chopping block, and they're going to promote Detroit's own Jim Schwartz.
Schwartz back in the saddle.
So we'll see, but this is usually the time of year where you start. I mean, the Titans wanted to be first. They wanted to shine their spotlight on their coaching job first, but you're going to probably see a couple people get axed over the next few weeks. Around the North, Green Bay Packers. Winning ugly. They finally paid revenge to Joe Flacco.
Got his. It was an ugly game against the Bengals. They were able to pull a 27-18 win. And, they're still towards the top of that division, even though everybody is nipping at everybody else's heels right now. So
yeah, I mean, the Packers looked exceptional week one, and since then, and actually pretty solid week two, but since then they looked pretty pedestrian.
They look like a good team, but they don't look like a great team.
Yeah. Minnesota Vikings coming off a bye week. They get to play the Eagles, who are reeling. That will be an interesting matchup.
Oh, did you hear, speaking of the Eagles, one of former Lions retiring?
You know what, smoochy. I did see that headline.
Yeah, Za'Darius has called it quits after 6 weeks. So
I thought we were done talking about Za'Darius.
Maybe he's retiring only to be re-signed by the Detroit Lions.
Goodness,
Okay.
I
can't do it. Sorry, can't do that. All right.
So he will not be suiting up for the Eagles. Nope. I don't know what the data suggests, but did he play much for the Eagles?
He had his spots, and I think he had a couple sacks, but his numbers weren't like extraordinary.
Okay. Right.
From my understanding, I think that they did do a comparison between him and Muhammad, and Muhammad's numbers right now are drastically better.
Okay. So good. So they get to play the Vikings, or the Vikings get to play the Eagles, rather. And we still don't know who's going to start at quarterback for the Vikings. That'll be interesting because what are they pretending they're going to do with that franchise this year, right?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you're coming off a year where you had some major success, right? 14 wins. That doesn't come along every year, and wanting to build upon that rather than having to just take a step back, I think is a tough pill to swallow.
Yep. The Bears. We're filming this. It's 10:43 on Tuesday night, and 10:43 on Monday night. There was some drama in DC.
That was a tight game. I stayed up and was rooting on the Commanders, hoping that the Bears would do Bear things. And I got to give it to the boys, man. I got to give it to Ben Johnson and Caleb. They found a way, and maybe more to the defense. That defense played really well. I mean, 3 takeaways, one of which I felt like Jaden Daniels just gave to the Bears at the end of the game. But they found a way to make that a win versus giving them a loss.
So their last 2 games, they've won both games by a combined total of how many points?
What is it? Like 2?
2 points.
2 points.
Yeah. Very interesting. The Bears are specializing in takeaways. They got 12 takeaways in 5 games, second most in the league. Another former Lion, DeAndre Swift, had a big game.
Heck of a game.
Both rushing and receiving.
Yep. He had that big pass or reception for a touchdown, and he looked good.
This is the only division in all of football that every team has a winning record.
It's crazy. Again. Like you feel like the Lions just want to start to separate themselves from the pack, take a breath a little bit. But they can't, So maybe this is iron sharpening iron, and just making us tougher for the next one.
There's that one team with that ugly tie in that division that's always going to be a little bit of a divider. Are you on the north of that tie, or are you on the south of that tie?
I can't wait till we get to the end of the season, week 17, week 18, and they're just like, we tied with Dallas.
Yeah,
we tied with Dallas.
Yeah.
So.
Incredible. Also, they lost to the Browns. Which is, I don't know what's worse, honestly. Yeah. But so that's kind of it for this week. Do you have anything else you want to add?
We continue to help us out with that algorithm. If you haven't done so right now, please subscribe, tell your friends. We are really trying to push mostly the YouTube channel. So if you are on and watching us on YouTube, watch it through. Play it twice. I don't know, but, and then, share it with your friends. So, but we're also on, the TikTok. We're on the Instagram. We're on, where you can find the audio of the podcast. And, email us, interact with us.
If you look hard enough, you're going to find our podcast.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen our YouTube channel at all, Brian's just got a voice for the radio, but a face for YouTube, baby.
Nah.
This is the whole package right here. So like, subscribe, follow, listen. That's the simplest favor you could do with a podcast. I have a few friends I've talked to that said, I don't just subscribe, but I've watched a few episodes. And I'm like, well, why don't you just subscribe? He's like, well, I don't want you to see my name as a subscriber. And I'm like, dude, I don't even get to see your names, but like, come on. That is just the best simple favor to reward some of our effort and some of these analogies that you get each and every week. So that's about it. So next week's episode is going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about, making you money again.
Yeah.
And we'll recap the Tampa Bay game. And we have a bye week coming up.
Going into the bye. So we'll be talking about, is Davenport coming back? Is Malcolm Rodriguez coming back? Are we going to see DJ Reed and TA coming? Like, all of these things, we're starting to get healthy, and we're going to start hitting our stride. So
there's no, I don't want to toot our horn a whole lot, but there's no better podcast during the downtime than Passing Time Podcast. We brought the energy in the off season. If you're new to the pod, I feel like we were crushing it. We're digging up new topics. So bye week is going to be an exciting week for us.
We're crushing it.
Yep. So stay gritty. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for passing time with Brian and I. See you next week.
Yep.
Go Lions.
Lions.